I showed off a shield build the other day with the purpose of being basically a pure and utter tank. But a few of you might not have actually been looking for that and may have wanted a more offensive build. And you said so, at least you told me in the comments. So I did a little farming, basically just kind of got some better pieces for a different type of build. The biggest problems you're actually going to have with your builds is going to be the raid exclusive pieces, like the Negotiator's Dilemma chest piece, or if you wanted, a Negotiator's Dilemma backpack. Those are exclusive to the raid because they actually have talents on them. So if you wanted to try to get those to minimize the loss of talents that you have from other gear set pieces, you're going to have to get those from the raid, or at least have the blueprints from the raid. You're also going to probably be suffering a little bit from the insane grind that you need to put in to get perfect gear mods. Especially when it comes to like the defensive mods with skill health or explosive resistance. They're extremely nice to have, but they're really difficult to find in some cases. The highest explosive resistance I've seen is 12%, and I only have one of them. And the highest skill health I've seen is 17%, and again, I only have one of them. They're pretty difficult to get as far as the mods go, so that's kind of another problem that you might run into depending on what you can get. And if this helps you out, don't forget to like the video. And with that being said, let's talk about the build. Alright, I'm sure you guys can pretty much see everything that I have equipped, so I'm not going to waste my time just going over every single stat when you can just see it there. What I will talk about is basically just the difference between this build and the previous one. So to accommodate the holster, I did actually have to drop 2 defensive mod slots, so 2 blue slots, which means that I only actually have 80% explosive resistance compared to the 90% that I had on the other build. Not a huge difference, but if you could actually find the 12% explosive resistance mods, you still have 5 slots, so theoretically you could still reach 90. It's just a little bit harder of a grind. Also, the build did lose about 32k life, so armor and health, about 32k combined. Not to mention, I'd lost some skill power, lost some skill haste, a good amount of shield health, and basically just the overall tankiness of the shield is kind of gone with this build. It's still enough to go from battle to battle, it's just not enough to actually sustain a long battle. I did not want to go into an extremely damage-focused playstyle, because I don't really think it's necessary with this build, and I don't really think it's very needed, because obviously the shield is what keeps you alive. The longer you can just keep shooting and the longer you can, ignore enemies, the more damage you're going to do overall. If your shield dies in a matter of seconds and you have to go back to cover and you have to just keep peeking out over and over again, you're not doing as much damage because you have a lot of downtime, you have to heal up and everything like that. This constantly having a shield up means that you can just keep shooting at an enemy over and over and over and over again. So I think that actually is the best way to actually enhance damage with the build. I do understand that some of you probably would want a little bit more. I did end up adding 65% damage to elites to the build with the hard-hitting talent and of course the roll on the mask. That'll definitely give you a significant bump over the old build, especially on elite targets. I also switched out the bulwark shield for the deflector shield. It's not a significant amount of damage, but it's still a little bit extra. Every little bit counts. If you wanted actually more damage, I would highly suggest you actually go back to the bulwark, probably re-roll weapon damage over some of the weaker blue attributes, so replace the health on the gloves for pistol damage, and replace the lowest blue roll on your chest piece or whatnot for weapon damage. The reason I say is you don't want to combine the two is because the main source of your health with the shield build is all in your shield. If you're basically just taking away from your shield without actually giving anything, to your entire build as far as tankiness goes, then you're kind of defeating the purpose of using the shield. Also, I would try to keep your skill power as high as possible. I know that you may want to sacrifice some to give yourself more weapon damage, but don't, because the skill power is obviously the biggest source of your shield's health, and it's also plays a very important role in your drone, your turret, your seeker's damage. They add a significant amount of damage to your build while also keeping your shield healthy. So I wouldn't sacrifice that for a little bit of extra damage or a tiny bit of extra health on your person. And I guess the other difference is basically just in the secondary skill itself. With my super tank build, which had investment completely into shield health, I was going with the Artificer Hive to repair it over and over and over again, because that was the whole role of it. With this one, you obviously I understand that some people want more damage in their actual build, so I've replaced the Artificer Hive with the Striker Drone. Now, if you really didn't like the Striker Drone, you can easily replace it with something like the Explosive Seeker or the Cluster Seeker. You could even just use the regular turret if you want. Those are all actually pretty good options, depending on how you exactly like to play. I like to push a little bit with my shield, so I like to have the Striker Drone because it can actually follow me around. The Seeker could also be really good if you had some status effect bonus damage talents on your gear and you wanted to make them bleed. Then that's a good option too. The build actually works really well despite not having the best talent rolls on it. And there are plenty of combinations for you guys to actually try out if you're really interested in the build. If, however, this build still isn't exactly what you actually want, I am working on 2 more shield builds and that are actually focused on more offensive-based tributes. So there'll be a lot more red rolls. I'm not exactly sure how I'm balancing the blue and yellow as of yet. I know I want to actually, a shield build, there's no point in having a shield build if your shield doesn't have life to it, right? So you need to have some endurance on your shield to make it actually worthwhile using one. Otherwise, you just might as well just go to full-on gun build and forget about the shield. Alright guys, if that actually sounds good to you, make sure you hit the subscription button down below, and don't forget to turn on notifications. That way when I do release those videos and they go live, you'll get notified of it. I'm not exactly sure when I'll be able to get those done, considering it's completely dependent on RNG. And me and RNG have a love-hate relationship with each other, apparently. I'll definitely be working on it, and I will hopefully get it out as soon as possible. But, RNG, video editing, all of it goes into one big time vampire, so sorry if I can't give you an exact time frame. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.